Welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth, where we dive into all subjects that will help you become healthier and happier. As a dentist, I believe dentistry is more than just teeth, so I created this show to focus on overall health. We will hear from leading experts about eating better, exercising better, breathing better, and sleeping better. We want to help you create harmony in your life so you can live your life to the fullest. We want you to thrive. Hello, welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. I'm Dr. Hal Stewart. Today we're having our fourth part of a fourth-part series on nutrition. In parts 1, 2, and 3, we talked about protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And today we're going to talk about alcohol, caffeine, multivitamins, some supplements that are good for you, that are essential, that we may not get in our food anymore. And so we have our resident nutritional expert and owner and head trainer of Outlaw FitCamp Mckinney, Kelsey Cherne, and her trainer that also works at her gym.
Patsy. No,
what's that?
Betsy.
What'd you say?
Patsy.
Patsy Klein. No, Betsy Paxton. So thank you guys for being here. So we've covered the 3 basic food groups: fats, fats, and carbs, and protein. And we made it very simple over the last 3 weeks. You can go back and listen to these if you hadn't heard any of the previous. They're about 10 or 15 minutes a piece, the podcast, and Kelsey just really gets down to the bottom of what's important, what's good, what's bad. So today we're going to talk about some things that probably most of you out there consume some alcohol. Some of you probably don't, and that's great. I want to make one thing clear, that there are no nutritional advantages or benefits from alcohol, from drinking alcohol. So we want to get that straight right off the bat. Is drinking 1 glass of wine a week just as bad as drinking 1 glass of wine every night? No, but neither one are good. Just one is worse than the other. So we're not here to tell you not to drink alcohol, but what I want Kelsey to do is just tell you what happens when you, let's say you drink a glass of wine, or you have a cocktail and it's got alcohol in it. What that goes in your body, and then something happens. So
I will say there are probably 2 things that Kelsey is super passionate about. One is protein, and the other is alcohol. Like, there are 2 things that I can just see her blood pressure go raw when clients are like, well, I just don't understand.
Yeah. Well, you know, my dad was, and my mother were, I guess you call them teetotalers. They never took a sip of alcohol. My dad came from on his side of the family, there were several alcoholics. And so my dad's philosophy was, you know, maybe you're genetically disposed to become an alcoholic. And I'm not going to argue that. But my dad always said, but if you never take that first drink, you don't have to worry about that. And I always thought that's very wise.
Yeah,
you know? Very smart. Yeah. And he lived to be 89, and my mother lived to be 100 years and 7 months old. So,
did she really?
There were other factors involved, just healthy living, but yeah. So anyway, Kelsey, take it away. Give us your thoughts on alcohol. I love it that you're passionate about this because.
So I'll start first off. The majority of my clients that come to me are on a weight loss journey. They want to lose weight. So I will start with, you are not going to reach any weight loss goals keeping alcohol in your diet. Now that I got that off my chest, that being said. So just the way you need to look at alcohol, it is a poison to your body. So once that is in your body's going to stop everything else it's doing. So typically if we're drinking alcohol, we're out at dinner, we're having a meal, or we drink alcohol and then we want snacks and we're eating. All that food going in, it's not being digested, it's not being processed, because your body is trying to get that poison out. That's its focus. And sometimes it can take up to 24 hours to get that poison out. So just remember, alcohol in is poison in, everything else is going to stop. And then a lot of times what comes with our alcohol, because it is a appetite enhancer, is we make bad food choices as well. So it's just like compounding, you know, the poison in your body that it's not even digesting the food you're eating. So you're going to store that But now you're probably not making the best of choices, because at the end of the day, alcohol is a mind-altering poison. So, I mean, that's it. It's a poison to your body. Your body, is it like threatening? Yes, if you have a problem, but is it the best choice? No, it's just not. I see so many people struggle with weight loss, and that is the one thing that they just refuse to give up. And you're not going to get the goals you want to get if you're not willing to put that away for a while.
This is a true story. I had a patient. She's a freshman now she's a sophomore, but last year, freshman in college. So she came home for Christmas break after her first semester in college, and she asked me if I could what would be my recommendation for the least unhealthy alcohol that she could get drunk on. And I was like, am I hearing this right? And I said, well, there aren't any.
And so that takes me to another point of discussion. So a lot of people track what they're eating in MyFitnessPal, or there's different trackers. And if you put alcohol in, it says zero calories, and it's not zero.
Right.
So our carbs are 4 kilocalories, our fats are 9, alcohols are 7. So if you're really tracking macros and you really think that you can include that in your macros, you can. You're not going to get the results you're looking for. But that being said, when you put it in, you have to choose. You have to say like Tito's as a carb, and then that app will actually put it in your macros and your calories as a carb and deduct it. But nothing's for free. It's not 0 calorie, and it's not zero effects on what it's doing to the inside. And if you go back and listen to our other episodes on protein, fats, and carbs, and how it's about balance and it's about alkalinity, well, fats or alcohol is almost like sugar. It throws all of that off.
Yeah.
So you just, if that's the choice you're going to make, just know that there are side effects, and you have to decide what's important.
Yeah. Well, in treating sleep breathing disorders, one of the things I tell my patients when we're working on what we call sleep hygiene is, if you're going to drink a glass of wine or have a cocktail, it needs to be no later than 5 p.m. because a lot of people would have a little toddy before they go to bed, thinking it's going to help them sleep. It might help you go to sleep, but about 2 hours later, it's going to wake you up, and it's going to disrupt your sleep. Disrupted sleep is probably one of the most unhealthy things that we can do, non-diet related. So just as a sleep aid, it's not a sleep aid. It's a going to sleep aid, but it's not going to help you sleep. So take that out of your regime right now if you think it's helping you sleep, because it's not. So, alcohol can be a very touchy subject, but, I don't mind touching on it. We have a firm belief that there's between the three of us here, that there's no nutritional benefits whatsoever that can come of it. And having been a former bodybuilder, I trained my last contest was in 2015. I went 2 years without a drop of alcohol, and I did not miss it at all. I didn't miss it at all. I would drink, if I were at a cocktail party and I wanted to kind of blend in, I would just get club soda and with a lime, and then I was Mr. Cool.
What do you call those?
Mocktails.
Mocktail,
I have some
mocktail,
great mocktail
exactly.
alternatives that nobody will know. There's no alcohol inside, so you can still be part of the party.
Right. So you don't, and if you have people pressuring you to do that, then that's their problem. It's not yours. So I actually became really proud of. I'd go to a party and someone would ask me, I'd say, no, thank you. I'll just have water or, have my mocktail. Not that I felt like I was better than them, but I think in today's society that it has just become so common. And I know as a professional going to a lot of meetings, it's just like, I'm going back to a meeting this afternoon in downtown Dallas. At 5 o'clock the meeting ends, what do they have?
Happy hour.
They have happy hour, right there. You just walk out the meeting room and it's all set up for you. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to get into that habit. So thank you for bringing that up, because I know, and thank you, Betsy, for telling that this is one of her two passions. So we'll leave it at that with alcohol and let our audience make up their own mind. But just know that there's no nutritional value in it whatsoever. So it's not that bad things will happen to you if you have a drink every now and then, but nothing good comes of it. So let's move on to caffeine. Caffeine is something that I know a lot about as far as the way it affects your body, and alcohol, because I counsel my sleep patients about caffeine. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but the half-life of caffeine is 12 hours. It's 6 hours. So if you have a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning to get going, let's just say 6 in the morning to make it easier. At noon, half of the caffeine is still in your body from that one cup of coffee. At 6 p.m., 25% of that cup of coffee you had at 6 in the morning is still in your body. So if you have 4 or 5 cups throughout the morning, by the time you go to bed at night at 9, 10, 11 o'clock, at least 25% of that caffeine is still in your body, and you're never going to sleep correctly. So in my opinion, there are some benefits to caffeine, but in very, very modest amounts. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a cup of coffee in the morning, but when you add 5 or 6 cups of coffee, that's a totally different story. I do not recommend any of my patients have more than 2 cups of coffee, and it needs to be in the morning before 9 o'clock. Anything after that, I just tell them, do you want to sleep good or do you not want to sleep well? And if you can make up your own mind, but if you do what I tell you, you have the best chance of that working in your favor and not against you. Do you have any thoughts on caffeine?
So caffeine, it is a natural fat burner. So like you earlier in the day, it's okay. It's not the greatest choice, but some of it's just like a very satisfying part of our morning. But as far as from a nutrition standpoint and weight loss standpoint and the importance of water, so technically we want a half gallon to a gallon of water a day. Caffeine is actually a natural diuretic. So technically if you drink a cup of coffee, you should replace that with a cup of water, in addition to the rest of the water that you should have.
Yeah.
So just know it is a natural fat burner. Where a lot of people get in trouble is the things that they add to it. It also is an appetite stimulant. So that's just something to be mindful of when, be mindful of your food choices. I agree with the sleep part of it. I know my cutoff for coffee. And if I have it after that, I do not get a good night's sleep, because that we could do a whole nother episode on the importance of sleep and deep sleep and how that affects our aging process as well.
I've done many episodes on that, but I like it a viewpoint from a nutrition standpoint too.
Yes. But yes, caffeine is going to disrupt your sleep cycle too. And, some of the books I've read and things, your sleeping and your sleep cycle kind of helps determine the longevity of your life. Mm-hmm. So sleep is another important part. It's a whole nother part of our whole full circle. So
people that sleep less than 6 hours a night have a 50% increase in cancer, of getting cancer. So that's how important sleep is. So if you're doing anything that's disrupting the sleep, whether it be bad habits, that are outside of nutrition or nutrition, anything that disrupts the sleep to your body, disrupted sleep is disrupted sleep. It doesn't matter what disrupts it. So, I have no idea how my mother lived to be 100 years old, because my oldest sister is 18 years older than I am, and there's 7 kids. So my mom basically went 18 years without good sleep.
Yeah. But I will say too, it's not just about if you get 8 hours of sleep, but it's the quality of that sleep as well. Like we need to have a certain amount of deep sleep and if you're stimulated by caffeine, you might sleep for 8 hours, but you might not get that full cycle of deep sleep that you really need for recovery.
Right.
So it is, the sleep is good, but we also need the quality of our sleep. And sometimes if you're having caffeine late, you wake up and you're like, gosh, I had a restless night. I felt like my brain never turned off, because this happens to me. Mm-hmm. And it is related to having caffeine too late in the day.
Exactly. So caffeine and alcohol, let's talk about multivitamins. You had told me earlier that there's a lot. This can actually be very confusing for people as well. But a good multivitamin, and you definitely want two ingredients that we really don't get from our food sources now are zinc and magnesium. And I know zinc has been in the news a lot, from the people that want a more natural defense against COVID and treatment against COVID. Zinc was one of the supplements that you should take. So talk a little bit about multivitamins, zinc and magnesium.
So one, I recommend a multivitamin daily, a good quality one, just because our food sources, our healthy carb choices that are from the ground, our soils and everything are so depleted. They're just not the same nutrient density as they were 20 years ago. So unfortunately, I feel like we do have to supplement with a multivitamin just to get some of those smaller nutrients in our body. Zinc and magnesium I've been learning a lot more about them lately, but they are also very much linked to our sleep cycle, to being able to get into that relaxed state, and then also in our recovery. So if you are working out, lifting weights, doing cardio, doing your Peloton, whatever, they play an important role in that recovery cycle as well. And there's a lot, you can get them in vitamin form. That's really the best way. There's even a tea, I think it's called Sleepy Time tea, mm-hmm. but it has those in it, and that's really good to have right before bed. It does help you relax. There's no caffeine in it.
Yeah, that would be a little bit.
There are teas with no caffeine.
Well, there's probably some of you are probably thinking, well, what about melatonin? I'll tell you about melatonin and magnesium as well. Magnesium does help with sleep. Melatonin, our body produces melatonin, so the very best thing is to have proper nutrition and proper sleep hygiene to let your body produce melatonin like it's supposed to. But if you are going to take a melatonin supplement, you need to take it about at least 3 hours before you go to bed. About 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Most people make the mistake and take it right before they go to bed, and then the melatonin starts getting released along with your natural melatonin too late, and then you're groggy when you wake up. So the way natural melatonin is released, it starts becoming released right at sundown, which it's still kind of light outside when it's officially sundown. And it reaches its peak about 2 or 3 in the morning, then it wanes off. If you take a melatonin supplement right before you go to bed, say at 10 o'clock, it's going to peak about 5 or 6 o'clock. If you wake up at 7 or 8, it's going to be like full blown, and that's where that groggy feeling can come from. So as far as melatonin goes, just keep that in mind. How about fish oil? Fish oil is very important.
Hold on, I want to put a question out there about melatonin.
Okay.
So I can't take melatonin. Mm-hmm. When I take melatonin, I have very graphic, detailed dreams and almost nightmarish dreams. So I'm just curious if anybody else has that problem. If you do, comment.
If you
or maybe it's just my sleep cycle is so efficient I don't need help.
Well, I would tell you, anything you put in your body, if it has a negative reaction like that, quit taking it.
It is the weirdest thing. And it's if I take melatonin. Mm-hmm. It is so weird.
Well, it's keeping you in your REM sleep.
It is. And it's like some of my biggest fears in life, like one of my children being bit by a dog, or my children drowning. And then those are the nightmares I have. It is the craziest thing.
Do you normally have those closer to when you wake up?
Yes. Yes, I would say yes.
So the way the sleep cycle works, you're getting a little bit off here, but
sorry, I'm just curious if I'm an anomaly.
The way the sleep cycle works, as we sleep, we go into REM sleep. We go the earlier in the night, we're in REM sleep more. As the night moves closer to morning, our REM sleep, that's the part of the sleep where we dream, though that's longer. So if you're taking melatonin and are you taking it like right before you go to bed?
Yeah, well, okay. And I was going to say that too.
Not anymore, she's not.
The bottle, well, I don't take it at all. But if you read the instructions, it says 20 to 30 minutes before bed.
Yeah. So don't listen to the bottle or the instructions. So your melatonin is really keeping you in that REM sleep even longer, and kind of everything's exaggerated.
Yes. So
you have those
clearly I
terrors.
have enough melatonin and I don't need more.
Good.
Her next nightmare is going to be being on my podcast, and I keep asking her questions that she has no idea what the answers are for hours upon end. So let's talk about fish oil to wrap this up. Fish oil, omega-3, very, very healthy for the brain. Fish oils are imperative, and you can get some really good fish oils just in capsule form.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about fish oils.
So fish oil, yes, they're heart healthy. They're healthy for our brain, and they're also healthy for our soft tissues, to help our soft tissues repair. And this is something I learned from our chiropractor. You can take up to 3,500 milligrams a day of fish oil. And so, I work with a lot of athletes. My kids are athletes, and when we have an injury, he'll always bump them up to 3,500 milligrams of fish oil because it helps those soft tissues recover faster. So it's just beneficial.
Yeah.
Another thing that we didn't really talk about are branched chain amino acids, which I think those are super important too. And they're learning more and more about those as well. Yes, they're good to help us recover our soft tissues, but the glutamine and leucine in those are actually finding that they're helping patients with brain injuries or even concussions. They're helping the brain tissue repair faster. So that's another good supplement to add to your daily regimen. And I personally buy unflavored, nothing, it's just BCAAs, and I put it in my water, but you can get them in capsule form too. But that's a great thing to add to your regimen of supplements.
Yeah, I was introduced to those by Kay Sims, a trainer at Jesse James Fitness, and she's still my trainer. But I will have some in my water while I'm training. So if you go on a 30-minute walk every day, 45-minute, whatever, and you take a bottle of water with you, just a little scoop of the branched chain amino acids in there will really help your muscles recover, and the other benefits that Kelsey talked about as well. Very important. But again, you can buy them flavored, and they've got all this kind of weird things that you can't pronounce. So just get the non-flavored, just the straight branched chain amino acid.
And you can put lemon or lime juice and get that alkalinity in there as well.
There you go. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here again. Before we sign off, though, we started with proteins. I want to end with proteins, and I want to end with your explaining proteins and using our beautiful model over here. Betsy,
what color should we go? Should we go purple?
We're going to, Kelsey's going to show you what proteins do for your muscles.
Okay, so we're going to outline her delt because she's so ripped. Right. See it? Okay, so, and then we got our muscle striations here. Anytime you work out, walk, get on your Peloton, whatever, you're working your muscles. We make small little tears in our muscles, and then we eat well to repair them. Well, what happens, we have all these small little tears. Okay, here's your piece of protein. We'll just say a protein shake because you might be plant-based, you might be vegan. And you drink that, and it's going to go in, it's going to fill them all in. And then guess what? Your muscle's stronger, denser, thicker, healthier, and all repaired and ready for some more work.
What if I just put you in
It's like a piece of steel. My dad taught me this. A piece of steel breaks, and if it's welded back together correctly, it's actually stronger than it was before. That's the way.
But I want to throw in also, so we need carbs to help this muscle stay full and healthy as well. So carbs, they're our energy source, but they also help keep our muscles full of water and full. So like when you are working out, you can get a couple more reps because you've got the water in there, you've got the glycogen in there. So we're going to put, here's your apple that you had before you worked out. Well, now it's in there helping all those striations keep working too.
Love it.
And then later in the day, when you don't need as much energy, we're going to bring those healthy fats in, and those healthy fats are just going to keep that body satisfied, that brain functioning good. So you, as the night goes on and we get those late night munchies, you have the brain function to make mindful choices and just drink some BCAAs.
Then when you're like, where's the pantry? Not going to.
Yes, that way.
And one last thing, and you mentioned it briefly, But just water. Water is so very important. Protein is life. Water is life.
Water is even more life.
For the average person out there, half a gallon to a gallon per day.
Yes.
So how many, an average glass is 8 ounces? How many glasses is that? For someone that doesn't have a water bottle or?
So a gallon is 126 ounces. A cup is 8 ounces.
Okay.
So you can do what?
You can refill that cup 20 times a day, or you can get something like this.
This is how much water you should have in a day. This is a gallon. And so I just fill this up every day. And look, I'm right on check. It's at 3 p.m.
And if you keep that with you and just sip out of it, you'll be surprised.
Right. And you don't have to carry this around. I like to fill it, and then I'll have a smaller water jug or water cup that, because you probably don't want to be walking in the grocery store with your water. But this will just help keep you on track. And, sometimes we get busy with work. We get busy with our phone calls. We get busy with the kids, and we don't realize we haven't had any water. And a lot of times when we have that feeling of we're hungry, you're actually just thirsty. 90% of our society is walking around dehydrated and thirsty.
Yeah.
So water, it's important for satisfaction. It's important to keep our skin full and plump and luscious. It's important for our cells. I personally don't like to drink cold water. I feel like room temperature water is more satisfying. I have a glass that I have by the sink every morning. I fill it up before I go to bed. I wake up and I drink that while my coffee's brewing, because it's just a way to get the water in, get those cells awake, get some things moving in that gut. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But yes.
And if you squeeze a half a lemon in the water,
even better.
That's even better.
And when you get bored with lemon, go to lime, or get crazy and do one of each.
All right. Well, you heard it here. So thank you guys for being in with us. We're not going to sign off quite yet because we have our little info, I don't want to say infomercial, but our section on essential oils and their benefits to our health and harmony. So Landis, take it away. And what's our essential oil of the day?
Hey, thanks, Dr. Stewart. Today, I'm going to talk about something that is in our kids line. And we have a kids line because they are pre-diluted. So you may have heard me in some previous podcasts talk about dilution, and whether that's coconut oil, B6, almond, jojoba, olive, all of those are fattier oils. They weigh more. So it takes longer to get that product down into your system. That's the purpose of it. For instance, Thieves has cinnamon bark. And so cinnamon is a very light complex. And so it goes in really quickly. Well, that's why cinnamon burns. So if you add something that's going to make it absorb slower, you take away that aspect. With all Young Living kids line products, they're already pre-diluted. Genius is great. It is actually pre-diluted with almond oil, and it has 17 other oils in it. What does Genius sound like? And the immediate application is, okay, this is for my kid that's at school. This is for my kid that's at home doing homework and can't sit down in his chair because he's been sitting in his chair all day at school and wants to get up and run around. But now I've got to do homework before I go tomorrow. Genius is great for focus. There are several oils in that are very centering, very grounding. There are some tree oils such as spruces and firs. So let me give you a little information about that. Whenever you see a tree, you can count on the fact that what you see is approximately, a grown tree, is approximately 1/3 of that entire tree. Only a third. A third is what is showing above ground. 2/3 of that length, if you will, of that tree is all underground, anchoring it. Okay, so if we were to pull out a tree and measure, that's actually 2/3. So what does a tree do? A tree is grounded, it's very centered, and that's the reason why Young Living has so many oils that utilize both a spruce or a fir, if different types of oils, because those help center and ground. If we have a kid that's running around and is trying to go all sorts of places, guess what? That's going to be very centering, very grounding, help them stay and focus in a particular area. So Genius is wonderful. Now, we have something called a fitment that what it actually does is that it is a roller ball that goes right on top of that. So that's easy application. You take that fitment, you put it on top of the Genius bottle, you're able to roll it on. Another way you could use it for a kid at school is either buy a diffuser bracelet that has clay beads, or you can actually even use leather. So grab leather, drop your Genius oil straight on it, and then that child has that, that scent stays within that. They're taking a test, take that, inhale their bracelet, refocus, reconcentrate. Don't panic because you can't remember the answer right now, and it just helps them stay stable. Isn't it so much easier when we can stay stable? Things come to mind. We're able to do so many other things, and that is what the Genius oil does. It's so awesome. We have several other kid scent line oils as well that are pre-diluted. If you'd like some information regarding that oil or any of our kid scent line oils, please let me know. I've got some contact information of an email and also a texting number. Send me a text. I'll get back with you, and I would love to see how we can help you and your kids succeed. Back to you, Dr. Stewart.
Thank you, Landis. Again, great information in just a short few minutes, and we thank you so much for that. So as we always do, ladies, we take a song that you've picked, we play it, and you tell what it means to you. So what have you picked today, Kelsey?
Okay, well, I will say if you've listened to the other episodes, Good Morning was great. The other were a little more serious. This one is a little bit serious as well. It's Tim McGraw, Not a Moment Too Soon. And this song in particular is about a relationship, but if you listen to the words, I kind of view just events in life and the way our life kind of happens. Not a moment too soon, not a minute too late. So here we go.
Without a minute to spare, you touched my heart.
The rest of Marshall. Sure.
My darkest hour, with my world filled with gloom, your sweet love saved me out a moment too soon.
Beautiful song. And it's the opposite of that is never too late to start living healthy so you can be a better mother, father, son, daughter, husband, wife, or just a better friend. The better you feel, the healthier you are, the more people that you can help on this earth. And that's really what we're here for.
A better human.
Yeah, a better human being. So I want to thank you guys for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed this past 4 series. If you haven't seen all of them, you can go back on YouTube to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth, and you can watch all these episodes and get a really good idea on a very concise amount of time, very succinct, concise on how to start your journey of health in what you eat and your dieting habits. So we want to thank you for joining with us. Again, ladies, thank you so much for being here. And we'll have, Kelsey, we'll have you on again. I think the next time we have you on, we're going to talk about getting rid of sugar in your diet. The poison. The poison of all poisons. It's been Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. I'm Dr. Hal Stewart. Have a great day.